Hello YouTube, this is Bruno. Get Good in Technical Minecraft part 13. So if you remember, in the first leg we tried to build as many farms as possible in 24 hours. And in the second leg we tried to be complete. So basically to manufacture all of the resources that we need to build other stuff. So here's the list of the farms that we built previously in the series. You can check it out if you want by going back on the playlist. But there are at least 2 farms missing, so let's tackle them. The first one is a piglin bartering farm, which of course provides a lot of valuable resources like obsidian, nether quartz and soul sand. And the other one is a copper farm, and I will build a small trident farm here, which gives a bit of copper on the side. That's not really enough to build with copper or something like that, but it's certainly enough to produce copper for a few copper barbs that we need for redstone. So I made a couple of changes to the sorting system. On one side I replaced the pre-sorter from my zoomer because it wasn't really reliable, and instead I just use a very simple pre-sorter like this. So I strongly power this dropper here. This will weakly power this dropper, so any item will go directly from this dropper to the shulker box. However, shulker boxes will get stuck here, and this is how this works. So all of the items will go down this hopper line here into the water stream. Shulker boxes will go into the shulker box unloader here. And we still have the unstackable filter here, so this should be fine. It's even more compact than before, so we need a bit of less height. And on the other side, I added a chunk loader down here. So this chunk loader will be running if our sorting system is active. So we can basically throw stuff into the input and leave the sorting system and let it sort on its own. So let's grab our resources and head towards our gold farm. And I had one of our bots AFK in the farm, and we have produced quite a lot of gold. So let's add a piglin bartering module here. And I already made it a sign, which connects directly to this chest here basically. And the main work for a piglin bartering farm, of course, is to build the sorting system. Bartering itself isn't that bad, however, we need to catch and name tag a few piglins. So I already prepared the resources that we need. Apart from shulker boxes, of course, we need just a few building blocks and a few basic redstone components and some ice for the slime pushers. So let's go to a creative world and walk you through the bartering system that I designed. The principle is really easy. So we have the gold farm with the gold coming in here. Gold goes into an auto crafter, and we have a little system that auto crafts gold blocks to ingots as soon as this chest is empty. This chest will distribute the gold ingots over 2 sides. And on both sides we have the same setup. We have a pressure plate that can detect items. And the pressure plate is red. And as long as items are in there, this piston will be extended, but if we run out of items, the piston will retract and drop new items. So we can feed these ingots to the piglins, and of course they are in here and name tagged, and they are standing on hoppers. Hoppers go into droppers, droppers go into a cobweb, and we have the usual hopper clock here, and the drops will fall straight down onto some slime pushers who push the items over a sorting system. And what we have here is a series of shulker box loaders by Glotz. So we have shulker box loaders for all of these outputs. And at the end we have some generic chests for the unsorted items, and there we only end up with unstackables. And there we can get the soul speed books that we want. The sorters are straightforward except for the nuggets, which we auto-craft to ingots. I mean, we wouldn't have to because we have a good iron farm, but this is a very simple auto-crafting setup. And that's it really. Now we will at some point have to do something about the kill chamber, because if no player is in there, then these ziglins get everywhere. But this would probably require a small redesign of this kill chamber here. So I'm not doing that now. These guys just glitch out. At the end of the shulker box loaders we have an auto crafter for the shulker boxes. So here we put in chests, and here we have our shulker shells. And again, we read this chest. And if this chest is empty, we enable a slow clock that will start crafting these shulker boxes. So that's it, really a simple system. Easy to build. Let's get cracking. Now the sorting system is just a standard shulker box array with item filters. Nothing out of the ordinary, single speed. We have built this a number of times already. With a few unfiltered chests at the end. And the standard slime pushers that align the item against the chest and then push them over the ice and the hoppers. If you use packed ice, you can do something like 20 filters. If you use blue ice, then you can use over 30 filters. But for 6 to maybe 10 piglins that we'll get in here, it's sufficient to have one filter and single hopper speed for all of the items. And if we miss a few items every now and then, that's not a big issue. Next are the holding cells for the piglins. And the tricky part is maybe to catch the piglins in the first place. We will here create a small platform out of dirt, out of temporary blocks. And we will get a ton of ziglins spawning here that we don't want. So we place another turtle egg that is separated from the platform with a couple of trapdoors. So the ziglins will actually try to go to the turtle egg and fall down and die. And then we go just far enough that piglins can spawn on the platform. In this case, just sitting on a portal. And as soon as piglins spawn, we swoop in, place boats, so that they end up in the boats, and we also name tag them. Repeat this until you have the sufficient number of piglins. So for this setup, you want at least 6 and at most 12. Make sure you have name tagged all of the piglins. And then I find it easier to surround the boats using rails and to maneuver them into minecarts. Because in my opinion, this is the easiest way to get them into the cell. Once they're in, you break the minecart and you use a piston to push a glass block on top so that they're closed off. Once you have all of the piglins in, you break the temporary blocks, the dirt platform in this case, and then you'll just have to place a few more redstone components to ensure the gold ingot feed for the piglins. And the bartering system is operational. And that's it. The bartering setup is working. Now there is a little rough edge, like the system here is a bit prone to breaking if it's unloaded. So let's see if we can make this a bit more robust. So let's also enable this fire here, because we know that nothing ends up here that shouldn't. And we do have a nice backlog at gold blocks, which I collected at the farm here. Now we have 8 piglins in here, which means that they will barter the gold a bit faster than the new gold comes in. But that's okay. We can always extend the gold farm later. For now, I'm logging off. And let's come back in a few hours. So our gold board has been here for a day or so. And let's say we'll never need soul sand again, or gravel, or crying obsidian. And we even got 4 shulkers of obsidian. That's quite alright. Here at the end, you see a couple of books here and there. We only want the soul speed 3. Nothing else that is of interest. And let's see what happened to our gold reserves. That's actually rather surprising. It seems that the farm produces just enough gold to keep our 8 piglins bartering, which I didn't expect, to be honest. Now, maybe you don't see it, I had to slap this area here because I got reinforcements spawning. You may or may not know that reinforcements spawn at the corner of blocks. So, for example, these buttons here will spawn-proof perfectly against normal mobs, but not against reinforcements. And we got the reinforcements here, either on the ice or on the redstone, I'm not quite sure. Well, if you get that, you'll have to spawn-proof with more. For example, using half slabs, bottom slabs, so that's fine. And I think now it's reinforcement proof, at least for the last 10 hours or so. I didn't see any reinforcement spawning. We do sabotage our height map a bit of the farm because we have built all on the spawning areas, but it's fairly convenient. And this is a starter gold farm anyway. Right, so let's grab a bit of obsidian, because that's what we need for our next build. Maybe also let's grab some gravel, soul sand and blackstone, and head back to our base. So that's the bartering system done. And we'll put the stuff that we get to good use, because for the next project we'll use a ton of soul sand and obsidian, because the one thing that we are still missing is copper. And of course we could go mining, and we could try to find a trial chamber and mine it. But it's much more fun to build a Trident farm that gives copper automatically and also gives a few Tridents, because playing with Tridents is always fun. Now, if we talk about drowned farms or Trident farms, there are nearly limitless time that you can sink into such a farm, and you can increase the rates even further. So the simplest farm that you can do is something like that. You have a huge water column. The drowned will shoot up, will be moved to water streams and transported to the player where they are killed. Now this is also a one-dimensional farm, so it will work on any server. However, the rates are pretty abysmal. You will get all the tridents that you need. The copper that you get, maybe 400 ingots per hour, maybe 500, I don't know. It's not good. On the other end of the spectrum are these portal-based drowned farm for 2 players. So here is one player that kills the drowned. Here's a large spawning area, another player up in the sky. And you see we need a perimeter for that. And if you want to be really efficient, then you will even break bedrock. So the first farm can be built in a couple of hours. This farm, I don't know. If you include the perimeter, you'll probably have to measure the time more in weeks than in hours. So this is really a huge effort. On the other hand, you can push the performance of these farms up to something like maybe 10,000 copper ingots per hour, depending on how good your computer is. What we'll build here is definitely on the lower end of the spectrum. So this is another of those farms with a huge water column and soul sand underneath. But we do use the fact that this is a single player series, so we can use portals in the nether. The rates of this farm aren't too bad. We have 148 blocks copper per hour, or well over 1,000 ingots. And of course more tridents that I would ever need. And to show you how the farm is built, I will actually give you 2 Litematicas. One is for the finished farm, and the other one is for the farm as it is being built. Because basically you do it like this. You build the portals and the water streams, and then you just remove the dirt and use kelp to turn the falling water into water sources. And then at the end you build a roof. So this is the schematic that I will build right now. Now, if we turn on the hitboxes, you see one problem of the farm. Quite a lot of drowned will get stuck under the portals. And also quite a lot of drowned will spawn here on the outside and just sink down and despawn, because here they are outside of the bubble column area. And this takes up a significant part of the mob cap. So one would think we could make the farm faster if we lava cast walls. So we have these little partitions here that make sure that no drowns get stuck, which is of course quite a significant time investment. But if we look at the rates at this farm, where we hope we would get more drops, they're actually slightly lower. Basically they are in the same ballpark as the other farm. And the reason is that we are not filling the mob caps. So basically the old farm is spawning restricted. We can barely fill the mob cap, and the mobs that we have eliminated, all of these nasty mobs that got stuck under these portals, were just the ones filling up the mob cap, but they did not restrict the spawning. So the takeaway is that we don't get any improvement from using these walls, but what we could do now, as the mob cap is not full, is build a larger version of the farm. So mob cap is usually around 40 to 50, so we could make the farm probably about 50% larger, and we might be able to push the rates to something like 200, maybe 220 copper blocks. But of course this would be a massive investment of times, because lava casting takes time and the farm would be larger as it is. So thank you, but no thank you. I will just stick with this version, which is much easier to build. I guess it will take something like 3 to 4 hours, and it will still give us 140 copper blocks per hour, which is decent. If you want more rates, you have to go into a perimeter. We need mostly 3 materials to build this farm. About 2 shulkers of soul sand, about 10 stacks of obsidian, and about 2 shulkers of building blocks like stone that we craft to slabs. Plus a ton of temporary blocks where we can use dirt, or in this case we will use soul sand because we have a lot of that. Then we need some bones and kelp to turn the falling water into water sources. And then we need just a bit of redstone to build the sorting system. And I have some more resources in my trusty redstone box. And when I started building, my replay mod crashed. So I can't show you how I built the platforms. But basically it's these platforms with the portals between on top. The temporary blocks between the portals are 15 blocks. So we can have a water stream in the middle, pushing the mobs into the portals on both sides. And then at the bottom, about 100 blocks lower, we have this shadow platform of soul sand. This has to be soul sand. The platform at the bottom is 1 block smaller because we don't need soul sand under the portals. Then you place the water streams, and the easiest way to do this is just to use ice blocks in the middle and to use a non-silk touch pickaxe to break them. Then I started with the sorting system. And after that the nether bridge, because I wanted to have all of the portals linking intact. So in case any mobs spawn and go into the portal, they will go out in the kill chamber. The sorting system is once again a very standard sorting system with a water stream on top, nothing special. We have 4 hoppers for rotten flesh that we will drop into a fire. And as always we use the signal strength independent sorters. That means we can have only 1 filter item in there and we can pick up 63 items of one type in one go. The nether bridge is the usual bridge that we have built several times already in this series. I made it about 12 blocks long and 3 blocks wide, which I think is just right for that round. Don't forget to initialize the item filters. And then you can break the temporary blocks between the portals, so the water will flow down and we will have a solid column of falling water. So the next part is a bit tricky, and it's the only one where you might die, because now we need to turn all of these falling water into rising water, into bubble columns. And the usual way to do that is to plant kelp and grow it, but unfortunately kelp can grow into the water streams, and this would mess up the water streams. So we have to find a way to do this without messing up the water streams. You see, we have 3 compartments here, and we have to do each compartment individually, and I will show you how to do one of them. So what we need is a bit of ice, 15 blocks to be precise. We need a few torches, some slabs. We need about 1 stack of kelp. I think we can leave the rest here. And we need plenty of bone meal, and we need a few temporary blocks where you can grow kelp on, but that is not soul sand. I have also brought potions of invisibility to reduce the chance that the mobs will spot me. And I have a few totems from our raid farm, just to be sure. And first we go 1 block to the outside, which is right at the edge of the portals, and create water sources, but we put slabs on top so that the water cannot flow over and the kelp cannot grow higher than we want. And now we plant torches on the side, and this will cause the ice to melt and turn into water sources, so we will have water columns on the side. And now write down the coordinates of this middle block where the water sources are. So in this case, this is Z693, and we will plant the kelp exactly under these middle blocks, because there it doesn't matter if the kelp grows in. Now first you wait until the ice has melted, so you can do this for all 3 of the compartments. Yeah, there's 1 more block, there's always 1 more block. But in the meantime, we can do the kelp in the middle. And if we go down now, we will have a ton of drowned in there. But what we can do is we let them despawn, so we fly away at least 130 blocks. And then we come back, but we can come in low, so that hopefully most of the hostile mobs will spawn in the caves. Enable hitboxes, and you see that we don't have any drowned in there. So that's fine. Well, very few. A few are sinking down there. And now I will use a potion of invisibility. which will reduce the detection range a bit. And I will go in and plant kelp. And I will start on the other side. And the problem is really if you have guys with tridents. So now we find the row that we want to plant, 693. And we plant kelp every second block. And we bone meal it. So I will use fast right click to make this fast. And bone meal it up till the top. So that it grows up into the water streams. But this is still fine, because we just create water sources where we had water sources anyway. And now we have a solid block of water columns in the middle there. Probably a good idea to make sure that the kelp has grown everywhere. See, we missed one here. That one. And more, okay. And now, if all the plants have grown to the top, you can break the kelp. Okay, and then we go to the side where we planted the ice, which is, I think, this one. Okay, so there are a few drowned, and there's a trident guy. You can just fly away and hopefully let them despawn. Okay, a few might be permanent because they have picked up items, but hopefully not too many. Alright, so you plant the temporary blocks here next to the soul sand, so this is just under the ice. And now we repeat the procedure for the blocks under the ice. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, kelp every second block. And the thing is, this should be right inside the portal, so our portal should be here where the scaffolding is. Let's see if we made everything correct. 701. Yeah. So here is our center column, and we need 4 kelp plants on each side for each compartment, spaced out 2, and then here we have the next portal. And once again we bone meal the kelp, and this will then turn everything on the inside to water sources. Once again, let's check that the kelp reaches to the top everywhere. There we go. Now you can break that. And this compartment is done. So now we have water sources all on the inside. So we repeat the process of planting kelp for the next 2 compartments to turn all of the water into bubble columns. Alright, and that's it. I forgot to break the kelp here in the middle, which shouldn't be an issue. I mean, now it's too late because we are in a bubble column. And then we do the roof, which is, I think, 10 seconds in the video and 1 hour in real time. And finally, we need a regeneration beacon so that we don't starve while hitting the armor stand. And that's the farm done. Took a bit over 4 hours, which is a bit more than I expected, but still not too bad. I died once because I couldn't land properly. But otherwise it was pretty smooth sailing. The roof took a bit longer than I expected because this is, I think, 4 shulker boxes worth of slabs. But the farm is working fine. I've placed my trusty bot here, Alex. And we are already getting the first blocks of copper. I still have to set up the filters for the chickens, because you occasionally get a few chicken jockeys. Here we have nautilus shells. I will filter feathers and raw chicken here. But otherwise I'll just stay AFK here for a bit using my bot. Let's finish the episode by fixing our kill chamber for our gold farm. Because the old design was pushing the Ziglins with the solid block, which caused them to glitch out. So I reworked the kill chamber a bit. Of course the AFK spot has to remain the same. We have to stay at the same height. But I still managed to put in 2 pistons. So let's look at the new design. So we now use an idea from the Glotz gold farm. So in here where the Ziglins fall down, we just have a slime block and a carpet. So we are pushing this carpet basically to this trapdoor, and then all of the items will be pushed to the stairs, and then we have a second piston pushing the items against this chest, and when this piston pushes, it will align the items and group them to stacks. So we got rid of the cobwebs here, and this kill chamber has the same height, so we don't run into any issues there. And I tested it for quite a while. It has the same output, so we don't lose any items, so that's cool. So the improvement is that if the player is here but is not killing the Ziglins, they will be pushed, but they will only be pushed against this block, so they won't glitch out. And eventually they will die to entity cramming, but we don't have to deal with Ziglins all over this farm here. And also I fixed the issue with the unload proofing here. The problem was that if these pistons were extended both at the same time, and this could happen if we unload the area, then this glass block would stick to the slime block here. So this is also fixed. This should be also very reliable now. But that's the end of the episode. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you want to see more content like this. Please subscribe so that you don't miss any of my videos, and see you next time. Bye bye.